Hey everyone, we're back and we're here at a new chapter. We're in the Crystal Desert, and it's quite a good chapter. It's probably one of my favourites of Prophecies. Maybe only the Northern Shiver Peaks I prefer, and I think that's because sort of when you're in the Northern Shiver Peaks and when you're here, you have one goal and you know what that goal is the whole time, and it just feels like you're on an actual journey. Sort of when you're in Kryta and the jungle and stuff, you're always kind of just moving around and you don't really know where the plot's going to take you next. But in those two instances, you really know what's going to happen and you're working your way towards it. So, and of course this time it's, as the Lich told us, we're trying to ascend, because we're chosen and the chosen can ascend, which will give us the gift of true sight, which for some reason the White Mantle and their unseen gods don't want anyone doing, because they were sacrificing people who were chosen just so that they couldn't become, just so that they couldn't get the gift of true sight. So we don't know why exactly that is, and we don't know why they were doing that on the Bloodstone yet, but those answers will come. But we do know at least why they were sacrificing people. Anyway, let's sell our stuff so we can get moving. And also, we've got, of course, I never managed to use those keys in the jungle, so we can sell those. Or did I already sell those? I already sold them. Huh. That's weird. Okay, alright. Oh well. And let's buy some new ones, shall we? See, they're getting quite expensive now though, and we're running out of gold, so I'm only going to buy a couple. I'm going to buy 3. Alright, okay, so a little bit about the Crystal Desert. This desert is here, it's ages away from anywhere we knew. This over this way is the other end of the ocean that we were at. That's the Maguma up there, across the sea. Those are the Shiver Peaks just to the north here. And here we are at an oasis just where the sea finally comes. So let's read about the Amnoon. For travellers into the desert, this tiny harbour represents a last chance to rest and resupply. It also provides one last view of the water, the sight of which becomes increasingly rare as one ventures eastward. Which of course we're going to do, so get a load of it guys, because you're not going to see any more. This place, as you've probably noticed already, it's full of just wrecks and stuff, like this thing here. And that's because, like, about 1,000 years ago actually, this whole desert used to be a sea. It was called the Crystal Sea, and back then there was a sort of huge colony of humans that lived here, and they were called Marganites, and they used to sort of patrol the sea and colonize it. But then about 1,000 years ago, around the time of the Exodus, it changed from the Crystal Sea to the Crystal Desert. And like in the Tyrian religion, if you will, they all believe it's because the gods were creating one last place for creatures of solitude to come and live. That's not actually the truth of why it became the Crystal Desert, and we will learn about that in Nightfall later on. But just so you know, that's why as we're going around, I know it's been 1,000 years and wood shouldn't still exist, but that is why as we go around this chapter, you will find lots of structures that look like they've been made out of wrecked boats and that kind of stuff. This whole place is just full of ruins, because we're not the only people who have come here to ascend. Over the past 1,000 years, there's been, I don't know, they don't actually say how many, but lots of different civilizations. We know that there's at least 4. Lots of different civilizations have come here to try and ascend, but they've all failed, and you can see the ruins of loads of past civilizations that have been swallowed up by the sea, by the sand, sorry, as you go around. So I really do like the environment here. It's very cool, and we'll see more of it as we go through. Also, I just mentioned that we learn about why it became the Crystal Desert in Nightfall, and that's because this Crystal Desert here has got some very close ties to Nightfall, because essentially this landmass we're on now is the most northern area of the lands you go to when you're in Nightfall, in the Nightfall campaign. South of here is a large continent called Ilona, south here past this black border, and of course when you're in the third campaign you get to see that. And we will learn about some people called Elonians who came here. They were one of the civilizations who came here to try and ascend, but they failed. So as we go through this chapter, you're going to learn a lot of stuff about the Nightfall plot that is quite interesting if you've played it before, because you'll see that even way back here, years before they even released that game, they had all of the stories written out, and you can sort of experience it all. So let's continue on with the plot. We're going to speak to this ghostly hero, who is a ghost. I mean, yeah, there's not many living people anymore. The only living people that are here are those who came on the boat, so the henchmen. And we're going to see Sin and Devonna and Aiden and that lot again, at long last. And the people at this oasis, this is like a merchant trading post, when normal people come. But other than that, that's it. Most people are dead. So, this ghostly hero. You are the chosen I have been waiting for. Long have I looked forward to this moment. What is it you seek? How did you know I was chosen? For many centuries I have lingered here in this desert, waiting for the prophecy to come to pass. We still need to learn more about that as well, of course. The chosen ones will come and help me gain access to the mists and pass into the Hall of the Heroes. It has all been foreseen. The Hall of the Heroes? Deep within the mists is a place known as the Hall of the Heroes. This is the spot where the universe was created, the very centre of all things. It is the dream of all heroes that when they die, their spirit goes to the hall, to float among other legendary figures of old. Why do you need my help? Like you, I was one of the chosen, but I passed from this world before I could rise to ascension. The tests of ascension can only be performed by mortals, but I can guide you through them, and when the way opens for you, it can also open for me. Who were you in life? My name was Churai Ossa. I was the champion of Alona, the protector and leader of my people. At the Battle of Jahai, I single-handedly defeated Palawa Joko, the Scourge of Vabi. It was I who led the Elonians to the Crystal Desert. Bear in mind, that's not all of the Elonians, that's just a faction of them that believed in him and thought he knew what he's doing. So have others come to ascend? Since my own people perished here, there have been 2 other groups who have followed suit, failing as we did. The ghosts of many of their strongest spiritual leaders still haunt this place. Is that what happened to you? I perished, along with the rest of my people, trying to build a temple to the old gods. We foolishly thought that we were the ones in the Flameseeker prophecies, the ones who would rise to be led into the hall. But fate is a cruel master, and it is I who have become the guide. What do you know of the prophecies? I know that those who are proven worthy will help me open the way into the rift. I know that those who ascend are destined for greatness, and I know that it will be I who leads them through the treacherous afterlife to the top of the Hall of the Heroes. But if you wish to know more, then you should speak with the one who had the premonitions, the Prophet. The Prophet still lives. Remember, this is, I think they've already told us, this is an 800-year-old prophecy. Indeed, her name is Glint, and she is quite old, even for a dragon. A dragon? Yes, she was one of the first creatures on all of Tyria. She was created by the gods to be the caretaker, but it became clear that she needed help. That is when they summoned the creatures now known only as the Forgotten. What are the Forgotten? They resemble great snakes, but they move upright, use magic, and fight with forged weapons. They were brought here to watch over Tyria while the gods completed their creation. But the serpentine creatures were pushed out of most of the continent, banished here to the desert by the humans. Now they serve to protect the portal to the dragon's lair. If you want to ascend and to meet Glint, you will have to get by them. How do I find Glint? She lives here in the Crystal Desert. But she is not easy to find. Her lair is inside a single crystalline grain of sand. It would take you 1,000,000 lifetimes to comb the desert, and you would still never find her. Only those who ascend will find the portal that takes them to her. Ooh, that's a lot to take in. Okay, so what must I do? You will have to prove to the gods that you are worthy of ascension. There are 3 tests you must pass before you will be let into the Mesa at Augury Rock. The Mesa lies to the east. There you will find great ritual priest Zamet. He can tell you more. I'll head east then. I have waited a long time for someone worthy to help me pass into the rift. both our sakes, I wish you luck. Okay, so we need to ascend to speak. Well, we want to ascend to get to first get the gift of true sight, which the White Mantle evidently don't want us to have. Second, so that we can speak to the prophet who wrote the prophecies, which seem to dictate everything that's been happening so far. And third, so that we can find the Hall of the Heroes, which isn't so much our goal, but this guy's going to help us do it, because once you've ascended, you can reach the hall. Okay, so, and his name's Churai Ossa, he's from Alona. Okay, so what is it you seek? The Sands of Soul. So many have come to this desert wishing to unlock its secrets, and all have perished. Were they all unworthy, or just unable to show their worthiness in a way that the gods require? I suppose it amounts to the same thing at the end of the day. Perhaps this time it will be different. Speak to great ritual priest Zamet. He can tell you of the tests you must endure. You'll find him at Augury Rock, to the east. I'm on my way, and I'll see you later. Alright, so Augury Rock is here, further in the desert. So let's get going, shall we? Oh, hold on, I'll quickly pause it while I get my oh, excuse me, I'll pause it while I get my run and build up. Okay, let's go. Now, thankfully, because there's been so many people who have come here and tried to ascend and failed, the way to the Augury Rock is clear for us, since the Amnion Oasis has been pretty much the only area of the desert that's been safe from bullshit that people have been able to actually live on. There's been quite a well marked way to get to Augury Rock from there, so we'll find lots of monoliths. Look at that, there's another skeleton there. You might remember ages ago, ages and ages ago, back in Ascalon, I talked to you about beasts that lived on the world thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, before even the gods came, called the Gigantus Lepidicus or something, I can't remember. We'll call them the true giants from now on, because that's sort of the layman's term. Yeah, and because of the, I suppose it's because the sands are always shifting around, their corpses are quite easy to discover here. So we'll find a lot of those bones. One thing you might want to point out is that since they existed on the planet before the gods, and it was the gods that turned this place into the desert, that means that those things are probably all water creatures. Shit, I don't want these guys to fight me. Go away. Hold on. Alright, okay, they're gone. So what you'll find here is we're now at a dead end. This little area we're in here, we're kind of boxed in, there's nowhere else we can go. Throughout the desert there are all these ancient things full of hieroglyphs and stuff, must have been left by one of the civilizations. And they're teleporters that help people to get through the desert. You'll see there's another one just over there past this little cliff. And to activate them, you stand in the middle of these circles and the magic activates. And then what happens is these lights start coming up, you see? I'll do that again to show you. You see? They start going in an order. So to activate the teleporter, we have to push them in the order that the lights appeared. So it was this one, and the light will stay on. Then this one, and this one, and this one. And then that activates the teleporter, so when we walk into it, boom, we come straight through. Which is pretty cool. Okay, so these things here are the monoliths, and this is a big long sort of road that you can follow with these magical monoliths, and they lead you to Augury Rock, which is very cool. I guess that this was like a really Egyptian kind of culture, and I love the architecture on these things. And we're just going to be able to follow these to get there. One other thing that I wanted to say about the desert and what it is, you might not know, but when this game was very first sort of being conceived, it wasn't actually meant to have a PvE aspect to it at all. ArenaNet were trying to make a player versus player game, and then somewhere in develop... Oh, where are we going now? Oh, they're over there, but we can't follow them. I'll go this way. Somewhere along the lines of their development, ArenaNet decided that they wanted to have a PvE player versus environment aspect with a story. So when they started adding it, they designed it so that players would go through it, and it would teach them everything they needed to know about player versus player, and then they would be able to go in and just play PvP. So when the game first was released, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, there were a load of arenas that all around the world that have since been removed, but they would teach you about player versus player. So when you finally finished the game, you would know everything you needed to know. And one big aspect of PvP in this game is travelling to the Hall of the Heroes, and the desert is very big on introducing players to that. So even though it's now gone, so you don't do Hall of the Heroes here anymore, everything you see here, so the monoliths go this way. Ah yes, I can see the temple. So everything you do here is teaching you about, essentially, about the different game types in the Hall of the Heroes, and eventually you would go with Churai Ossa to a large PvP outpost where you would compete to go there. And we'll see how that's changed since the game's released, but that is the explanation for a lot of the stuff that goes on here, which you'll see soon enough. So anyway, we followed the monoliths, and I think the temple's just up round the corner here. Augury Rock is a very sort of holy place, full of these giant, awesome looking structures, and we'll see why in a minute, why it's so important. But you can just tell already it's so grand, these big arches. Here we go, Augury Rock.